I always love an interesting garden, and Margaret Johnson, one of our viewers, contacted us to tell us about one in Mount Barker. Now, I'd always heard about this garden, never been here, but today I am. If there was ever a garden that fairies and gnomes could call home, this is it. A mix of plants, pathways and colourful nooks and crannies in a magical place called Tickle Tank. Irene, you've got an amazing place here, but how come you've made a home in a tank?
A couple of reasons. One is, well, I was a professional potter for 27 years and I used to entertain children by making little clay houses, throwing them on the wheel, and I thought if I could make one of those big enough, I could just live in it. And I actually needed a home without a mortgage, and I saw this tank on a block of land and I thought, that's it, that's my place. Went to digging out the soil from around it, cutting some holes for windows and doors, and then I brought in 3 more smaller tanks and they just plop, plop, plop and lowered them all into place.
Just like the garden, the tank house is a warm mix of things quirky and charming. Irene's artistic background is obvious, her handiwork everywhere. Not just a home, it's like a gallery. Clearly the tanks came first. And also, the garden was important, but why was it important to you?
Oh, the garden's absolutely the bones. I had some very life-changing experiences, and the garden reminds me that there's new life, always. Things grow, things die, things come back, seasons change. I just feel very at peace with myself when I'm surrounded by a garden.
You know, one thing that particularly strikes me about this garden is the subtle mix of exotic and Australian native plants. Now, whether by good design or just sheer accident, it's a seamless blend. And the other thing, because of the density of the planting, there are no weeds. Irene, you've brought me to your favourite spot. Why is it so special?
Well, it's right outside my kitchen door, and I can be cooking, have a meal on, and I can smell it and see it from here, and I can step out here with a cup of coffee and just relax, and I feel like the centrepiece in a bouquet.
And you've got a lot of old-fashioned plants that were around in the 60s and 70s.
Geraniums and...
Yeah, but they work, don't they? They work a treat.
I think for me they work because they're very hardy, and the garden should work for me. I don't really want to work for it. I want to enjoy it, but I don't want to slave over it.
And blending in beautifully, you'll find more of Irene's clever creations.
You see the mosaic on the wall there? Well, I tried to grow a white wisteria. It wouldn't grow, so I made one.
And it is quite special. How long did it take you?
Every time I had a mosaic session, I wrote it down, and it's 170 hours.
Irene takes visitors by appointment in spring, but will also open her gates to the public on the weekend of October the 10th as part of Open Gardens SA.
When there's people in the garden, they disappear into little nooks, and you wouldn't know there'd be 20 people in the garden. You know, you just walk around and come across somebody sitting somewhere. I think having different levels give it the feeling of more space, because you don't see the whole garden at once. You actually walk and discover things. You're on a little discovery journey.
And I couldn't leave without asking, why the name Tickle Tank?
My grandchildren used to say they're going to visit Nanny in her tickle tank, and it's sort of stuck. And it does tickle people's fancy when they come here. Everybody goes away with a smile.